So here we are, we're back to part 2. So we've splattered the extra flowers on using that. I'm going to do the same with a little bit of red, particularly down this front edge. Using the same mix and my cadmium red. Mix nice and thick and scrummy. For a pop of colour. And then I'm just going back into these poppy shapes that we've got. Just to enhance them. And just choosing one or two to pick out in the background. So we've done the flowers. We will be doing some more flowers as we take the masking fluid off, and the masking fluid will show through. So I'm going to use my sword liner brush, but you could just use a rigger brush, and I'm going to mix up a nice green using some ultramarine and some New Gamboge yellow. I'm just going to paint some wispy grasses on. As I said, you can use your just put a little bit more water into there for that background. Lots of different directions, and it will dry lighter. But we don't want too much information back here. I'm a bit cross at that, so I'm going to try and see if I can sort that out. Put a fence or something back there. I'll mix a slightly thicker mix now. still ultramarine, a little bit of Gamboge yellow, more ultramarine this one, so it's a little bit darker. I'm just going to put some darker stems on some of these larger flowers that we've got going. It's loose, it's impressionistic. You don't need to worry too much, it will look gorgeous. So just pick out one or two. So I'm going back to my small mop brush. A bit more Gamboge yellow in here. Do some thicker leaves. So sticking with ultramarine and Gamboge yellow, but it's a thicker paint consistency. So the brightness just brings this foreground forward. And we can go back in and put some more of this in if we need to. I'm just going to lift that dark bit here. Bit of dry brush up here. Trying to just cover over that mistake that I did. I think we've got away with it. These Meadow mop brushes do put up with a lot. This is just a really watery glaze just to lift some bits. So hopefully you can see that it's not all lost. If you do an error, just keep going. So I'm going to let that dry. Okay, so here we are. I've dried this one off in my hairdryer. I'm just going to let the heat go out of the paper, but you can see some nice layers coming, particularly in these little poppies. And when we take the masking fluid off, there'll be more poppies to do that will have a even brighter tone because they won't have that green underneath. And the same with these little purple flowers. So time to take the masking fluid off. I'm just finding my little ceramic pickup rubber. So this is what I'm going to use, and you just gently rub the paper and it comes off. If you're finding when you rub the paper and to take it off, you can do it with your finger. It works. If you're finding that it's tearing, just wait for a little while and allow the paper to just settle and dry a bit more before trying again. I'll come back to you once I've got all my masking fluid off. Okay, so here we are. This is the bit I love because in these little spaces you've got tiny, tiny little splashes of white. They are beautiful. There's no way you could have done those any other way. So it's the bits that make it unique as well, because without doing what we've done, you and I would potentially have exactly the same painting, whereas actually we can't have the same painting because our splatters haven't gone in the same space. So I'm going to go back to our little one, and I've got my small mop brush, and I'm just going to get a little bit of raw umber. She's got a straw hat on, but I want it to be slightly different to this, and the sun's coming from the front, so I'm just leaving that white on the front of the hat. I'm just going to add a little bit of burnt umber into here, just for the back. And the brim. There we go. Just going to raw burnt umber straight from the palette. I'm just going to add a little bit into the edge of the brim where it just turns up. There we go, nice hat for her. So I need to think about the colour of her hair, because I don't want it to be the same tone, so I'm going to leave the hair for a bit. She's got a little bit of a chin here, so I'm just going to, I've got some Potter's pink on my palette. I'm just going to add a little bit of pink there, and then she's got a hand here, so again I'm just going to add a little bit of this Potter's pink. But you can make her hand and her arms whatever you want, especially if you've got grandchildren. They could look like your granddaughter. Just going to darken the shadow. So this Potter's pink is a little bit of an addition that I have in my palette, but I like it. And although her dress is white in the photograph, I'm going to make it slightly yellow, and I'm going to use some raw sienna for that, and lots of water. Could just use some yellow ochre and lots of water, and it will just tone the sort of underlying bits of her dress, and we'll put the details on afterwards. So I'm going to use some burnt sienna, a little bit of red light maybe as well for her hair. So it's more of an orangey tone brown rather than an earthy tone brown. And I'll go back to define that in a little while and to put some shadows under her collar and things like that. Just going to drop in a little bit of burnt sienna while it's wet. So whilst we're waiting on the girl to dry, we can make some decisions about some of these. So maybe this one's more of a poppy shape. As you can see, they stand out more from the background. We can drop the black centres in a while. And nice and thick. There's nothing stopping you not putting butterflies or whatever flowers you want into this meadow. I'm just sticking with poppies and these purple, light purple flowers. And just keep working on them. Adding a little bit of depth. Same with my purple flowers. I've got the leftover bits of purple. And I'm going to leave some white splodges because I've got those beautiful white flowers as well. And it's loose, stay loose, remember to breathe. And if you've got a stream of flowers and you're thinking, actually I don't like that, just add something to it, it's fine. And because these have got white underneath them, they stand out a little bit more, but they are harmonious in the set. And you can do the same with the white gouache. So you can just add some little loose white flowers into the mix. So anywhere that you're thinking, oh, I don't like that, just put a flower. Nice and loose. And then I'm just going to get some black, some lamp black for my poppy centres. I think these help really define that they are poppies. Less information on these little ones and more information on the bigger ones. Just using it straight from the palette. And then I'm going to add a little bit more green stems using some sap green and ultramarine mixed with just my little brush, just to add some little brighter stems to some of these. We can have some seed heads, we can do all sorts. That's up to you. But remember to stay loose with it. And then I'm going to get my little mop brush. I'm going to put some more leaves on the foreground. It needs to be a bit thicker than that. Ultramarine in there as well. It's nice, flicky. If I go over one or two flowers, it's not the end of the world. If you wanted, you could just get your rigger brush and go over some little bits. Over in the mid-ground, this sort of path side, you're just trying to sit the girl in the grasses. In the meadow. So back to this little girl. I'm just going to do a little bit of texture in her hair. Not too much, but enough. I need a little bit more of this Potter's pink just to re-emphasise her arm a little bit. I think I'm going to put a red poppy here. Nice and bright. Next to her dress. That draws the eye. I need a little bit of black for that middle. And then for the collar, I just need some shadow. So I'm just going to drop a little bit of the purple into this brown until I've got a fairly neutral shadow colour. And I'm just going to put a little shadow underneath her collar and under her hair, around this sleeve of hers. A little bit of shadow into her dress at the back. Maybe a little belt. I'm just going to drop a little bit of that shadow colour into the hat for a little bit more texture. Feels a little bit flat at the moment. It's better. So I wanted a little bit darker shadow under her hat, where her hair and her hat go. So I've just added a little bit of ultramarine blue into there, into the hair colour, whatever colour you've chosen, just to darken where the hat and the hair come together, which is why I was umming and ahhing what colour to do. I'm just going to use a really pale purpley colour. There we go. And I think that for me is probably finished, because I'm about running out of steam, but it's been fun, and that's the most important part, is that it's fun. And you can always come back to it. You can always come and enhance the poppies. You can come and add a bit of detail, a bit of depth, another layer on some of them. But you don't want your flowers to be too detailed. You want them to look at the go. So I hope you've enjoyed that one. I know it's in 2 parts, but it's one of those days that I need it in 2 parts. And I hope you do it, and I hope you have fun. So I'll see you soon. Like, subscribe, comment, share with your friends, do everything, but have fun.